this experience. Welcome to the Credit Union Tableau User Group for the Q3 of 2024. My name is Eric, and I don't think y'all have met, some of you maybe have met me outside of this, but for most of you, I might be a new face. I'm the Business Advisory Services Manager. Business Advisory Services team at Architecture is going to be taking over the user group to help Devin out. And where I come from is 8.5 years of credit union experience too. So I've been in you guys' shoes. That's really why I'm taking and coming in here, where I've been that front end user, using Tableau as a marketing analyst in the lending team and in retail a lot. Jess isn't with us today, unfortunately, but she is also on our team. She did the other half of the stuff, anything that I probably didn't get to touch, more on the operations and finance and those and the data areas on the back end. That was her side. So we are a nice pair of people.
No. Oh,
Hi, Kathleen. Can you hear us?
okay.
Oh, right. Just to introduce myself there.
The volume on. What's happening?
That's okay, Kathleen. Actually, I have a call up. Well, good to see you, Kathleen, because I actually have some stuff from you later. We'll be using Mentimeter today.
Eric, I think since you're the host, you might be able to manually
There we
mute
go.
people in case you need
I did
to.
it. We're good. Perfect. So we're going to be using Mentimeter today, which you guys might be familiar with. I actually managed to get the whole thing in Mentimeter, so it'll be really great that we'll be able to go and use the slides to be more interactive in this conversation. This QR code you should be able to take a picture of with your phone, and it should take you to the site as well. I think on the next slide too, here's the instructions in more detail. You can also go to menti.com, enter the code 84015169, or use that QR code. I'll give you guys a minute to sign into that. You'll want to, and if you're having any issues, let me know. Give me some thumbs. I'm seeing some thumbs up starting to come in, so people are starting to do that. I'll wait a little bit longer, and then I'll go to the next slide. If you have any questions about Menti, it's really cool, interactive. If you've been here in the last one, we use it for quizzes and word clouds and some things like that. So it makes it a more interactive experience where we can get some feedback from you more easily, without you having to worry about, you don't want to talk in front of everyone. So a second there. I think we're good. Is there anyone who still needs this, or switch out, or otherwise I'll go to the next slide there. Once, twice. Cool. All right. So first thing we want to do is introduce yourselves. So you can say what credit union you come from, what your role is at the credit union, and how long you've had Tableau experience, for how long you've been working with Tableau. In a second, see some responses on there. Like I said, for myself, even I'll give us the example. I came from that kind of marketing role it was Granite State Credit Union and Northeast NECU, now called Lighthouse. And then for Tableau experience, it was those last few years, so 2-3 years in Tableau at the end there. And now that I'm here, I'm using Tableau a lot more. So I see people from St. Mary's, senior data analyst. You've been there for a while. MIT. Oh, MIT. Good to see you guys again. So let's see. I don't know. I wonder who that one is. The marketing imposter. Yeah. Nice. Using Tableau for a long time here. Good to see that. Welcome, Jeffrey. Neat for fiber. New to Tableau. I've been in those shoes. Definitely was starting out new there. 9 months experience, 10 years. Lots of interesting mixes of lengths of experience working here. See if there's anything.
So Eric, does it let you pop up the QR code anytime?
Yes, I can pop that back up.
Cool.
Just so we can still, if anyone still needs it. A lot of long timers with Tableau, like a mix of long timers and people who are newer to Tableau. So it's nice to see that. And that's the whole point of this, is to bring together people who maybe are becoming newer to Tableau with people who are been doing it for a long time, and both can kind of learn from each other as to new best practices, new ways to do things. It's a really nice mix, I've found. So neat, lots of different experience levels. Guardian, also a bit newer to it. A lot of data analysts here, which is nice too, that we're seeing that data analyst and BI analysts coming in and joining this. Perfect. I think I'll head on to the next one. Good to introduce everyone, get to know where everyone's coming from. So just to give an agenda of today, we just did some introductions. We're going to talk just a quick review as to what is a Tableau user group, especially for anyone who's new here who hasn't joined one of these before, or maybe has only joined one or two. See some Tableau conference takeaways, especially from the keynote address, and may hear what your key takeaways have been. I like to call this a debate section we're going to have that came up as a really cool topic where we're going to talk about tiled versus floating containers in Tableau. Sometimes I feel like it gets heated online, so it should be a fun little debate. Some member submitted topics, so talking about some go-to dashboards and some Tableau connectors, and then just leaving some open time to have a Q&A, open forum, that kind of time. So we'll get going into what is a Tableau user group. So the first, I just want to see your level of experience. How have you been in a Tableau user group before, or any professional user group? Are you new to this? Get some experience. Normally we kind of see a mix, so good to see who's new here, who's been here for a while. We're seeing quite a few people who either it's their first time or some occasional participation who've maybe been to a few of these, but not the most. I'll let it get a little closer to 20 something and then we can those responses. Also, I love that you can super click that like button as many times as you want afterwards too and fill it up. As you can see. That's my favorite part to sometimes do. Nice. We're seeing a little bit more experience actually than last time too, where we are still seeing a mix. A lot of you guys are new here. Like I said, I'm even new here, so that's great. And then we're seeing some people who have some experience who've been there a few times, and a couple of people who are experienced who've been doing this for a while, whose names are familiar and everything. So going on to the next slide here, we can actually see last time it was a similar with, there's actually a few more veterans and a few more people who feel experienced. So that's really great to see that everyone's kind of becoming a little bit more accustomed to this. But there are still a few newbies and people who have only seen it once or twice. So that's why I like to go over just what is a Tableau user group anyway, and where it's basically this community of Tableau enthusiasts. We share knowledge, we share our best practices, insights. We have these regular meetings, we have workshops, networking events. You see the user group threads that you can add questions to and ask and start discussions. It's often centered around specific industries. We're in the credit union one, obviously, here. And it gives us a supportive environment for learning, exchanging those tips and resources. So again, where you saw people who are very new here mixed with people or new to Tableau who are very experienced with Tableau, bringing those people together so they can talk to each other is really the key here to enhance those Tableau skills, stay up on trends, and have those professional connections that you guys can talk to each other afterwards. So
Thanks,
going on.
Eric. I think one of the cool things to kind of like call out here is how is this different than a webinar, right? So a lot of us are used to, signing up for some webinars and might have more experience in that realm. And in a webinar, I think like, okay, I'm gonna join in and I'm just gonna kind of like sit back and like listen to the presenters. The user group, I think, offers like a really unique way to get involved and engage and to like have your voice be heard. So I strongly encourage people to like come off mute and like weigh in on a topic. We set these up. I would consider us facilitators for the user group rather than just driving on content. We've got some cool stuff that Eric's planned for you guys, but would love to hear from you. And sometimes we might just have a little bit of an awkward silence where, we'll just give you guys a chance to jump in and share what you've been working on. So would love for you to participate, and I hope you enjoy it and, get the most out of it.
My goal is to talk a lot less during these than you guys get to talk. So that's my goal that I hope to succeed with this. So first, I just want to know, did people attend the Tableau conference? I know last time we didn't have a lot of people who were actually planning to attend. It sounded like maybe one or two people might. We have obviously our team got to, but I know even for myself, I watched Tableau Tim's kind of live react to the keynote. So seeing kind of people's responses, I'd love to actually hear from people and just see if you came in person, what your own takeaways were, other than our team. I'll save our team for a little bit later. Or if you did see the virtual content, whether it was just watching the keynote or Tableau Tim, or you saw some takeaways from it that you read on a blog, what were some of the things that you saw that you're most excited about? And for those who didn't, we do have a few things prepared. We can share our own takeaways if we have time, but we wanted to hear from you guys first. What were some things that you heard at the Tableau conference, whether it was in person or a virtual thing? And now I'll open it up to you. From the 14 and 18%.
I attended in person, and it's been a while now
Yes.
since I've been there, but my main takeaway was all about AI, and AI is here to stay, and Tableau Cloud.
Nice. Was there something specific with Tableau Cloud that you remember getting excited about there too?
Oh, sure, Tableau Pulse and Einstein Copilot.
Nice. I feel like those got some nice reactions from everything there too. Did you get to do any of the kind of the workshopping sessions, or did you get anything fun from actually like talking one-on-one with anyone?
That's where I've gotten most out of the Tableau conference the last several years. I think this is my 6th time attending.
I love it.
I'm a seasoned vet of
Yeah.
Tableau conference, and so the connections and talking one-on-one with people and going to the network sessions are my favorite parts. I didn't end up getting into any of the hands-on training. The lines were just too long, and I wasn't willing to sit and wait for 2 hours to get in.
Fair.
But there was a ton of great sessions, lots of good insights and networking opportunities. So
Glad to hear that was fun. Yeah, that's awesome. Were there any other takeaways that anyone else had? Maybe something either similar to what Carrie was sharing there, or anything else that you got for yourselves?
Hello.
Hello.
I attended in-person event and I got to learn a lot of things, especially like it was a lot of walking throughout the conference from one class to
Workout.
another class,
Yeah.
like from village to data village to the other areas. It was just long walk. But other than that, like I was able to meet a lot of great connections and that community connections areas, and it was a great night out, the data night out. So that was a fun part. But in terms of learning, there were like Figma and visual extension, visual extension, and that was a key feature that I learned from that
Yeah.
conference.
Was there something in particular about Figma or that extension that was the most exciting to you?
Like we can like create a visuals however we want within the Figma, and then we can directly pull from Figma to the Tableau dashboard that we are working on.
Yeah, that was really cool. I remember that from seeing that in some of the sessions, so that's really neat. And you get your step count in for the day, so nice. Is there anyone else who either attended or, like I said, there's maybe some people who saw the virtual content, so is there anything that you maybe saw from the keynote or anything else that you watched that got you pumped?
I attended a couple of the digital sessions. I couldn't go in person this year. And I agree with Carrie. I think the in-person stuff is great. You get to meet a whole lot of people. Some of those hands-on sessions, if you can get up early enough to wait in line, are really good. I think I'm always continually surprised. I've been using Tableau for about 10 years. And in all of the sessions, there's usually one little thing or two little things that it's like, I had no idea you could do that. Or gosh, I can't believe I've been doing it the hard way when there's this other way to do something. So I don't even know that it was some of the big stuff. But I think every time I attend Tableau conference in any way, I learn something little.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, I know it's going back a bit. Were there any of those little memories that you have from the digital sessions that anything that kind of can pop up, or a connection maybe with somebody that you were something you learned even just talking to someone that you got excited about?
Me personally, I didn't
Yeah.
talk to anybody
Oh,
since I was just
digital.
watching the
Yeah.
videos
Okay.
online.
Awesome. Yeah.
I can't remember, again, it was a while
It's a
ago.
little bit ago.
I can't remember anything specific, probably because I've just incorporated it into my daily use of Tableau at this point, and it feels like I've been doing it forever.
Yeah. No, that's very, very fair. But good to hear that even the digital sessions, and for myself, just watching the keynote, I was even getting hyped up. I think I was live reacting with our visitor as to like, oh, custom fonts and rounded containers and stuff. We were getting so excited. So the live reaction was fun, even to just the keynote. So was there anyone else who also had any other experiences to share there? I think it's that message come through. Carrie, do you want to speak to that a little bit? The tip battle and those sessions that you're
So
getting?
I guess at every Tableau conference, there's some of my favorite sessions to go to. So the Fleur Twins, how to do cool stuff in Tableau. That's been a favorite of everyone the last couple of years, and there's always something they share that I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there, or that's surprising to me. And then I think Tableau Tip Battle was new last year, but in that session, even they shared even tips that the Zen Master or visionary judges hadn't even seen before. So those are great for those little tips.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious because I also was not able to attend. Is the tip battle like a rap battle, or is what is the kind of, if you know kind of what that session is like, or what makes that a special kind of set, like what the
Sure.
content of that is like?
There's 2 hosts of that session, and then they have 2 or 3 judges. I think it's 2 judges. And then people take turns going up and sharing their tips. And it's kind of 1 person, 2 people go up at a time, and it's 1 person against another one, if I remember correctly. And then it's like tournament style. So the winning tips gets picked, and then they go back, and then they come up again and get the winner of the first round goes up against the winner of another person in the first round. Same thing, the winning tip gets picked until the final round, and then a winner gets picked.
I love that, like a bracket. I love that, the actual tournament style. I was wondering, have you or anyone else here, have you actually ever submitted a tip in front of everyone in one of these tip battles? I know, Amy, if you've ever done it, no. I was like, that would be intimidating. I was like, beyond even that. So that's neat to hear that's a really cool concept. So glad to hear. Is there anything else anyone wanted to say? Sarah, you maybe came off mute. I wasn't sure, or if there was anyone else who had something they wanted to share from either the conference or their experience digitally. Before I give our team a little shot at some takeaways. Maybe not.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was an accident.
Oh no, you're fine. That was fine. It wasn't even just you. It was just if anyone else had any takeaways. I just saw you're off mute. So no worries. All right. So go, like I said, this is kind of what the takeaway was. You can see there was a lot of those hands-on a lot of hands-on stuff. I really appreciated that with the conference, that it really gave you a lot of either breakout sessions, Tableau Doctor, hands-on trainings. I love that data night out idea too. It sounds like it was fun and you get your steps in. So to give some takeaways, I think Amy, you're probably the best one to, so she's our visitor extraordinaire at architecture. So I asked her to, especially because she was attending in person, to maybe pull some of the key takeaways. So it was from the keynote or kind of the broader sessions that she attended, and maybe speak to a few of the cool things you saw, or whether kind of it's the same stuff as what, Carrie and Dana were seeing, or if there's any new stuff that you wanted to add that you got really excited about, because I know we are live reacting. So
Yeah, it was so much fun. I did have a lot of the same takeaways as Dana and Carrie, especially Carrie, the AI, how much the AI functionality was talked about, and how I think this was, my 6th or 7th conference too. And in the beginning, it was all really tailored to people like me, who's Tableau creator, people who are in desktop all the time. And as I was like creating my list of my personal favorite things, I had a hard time too, because I was like, all this stuff is so cool for Tableau, but they are doing fewer features for the creators. It's more to build the platform and how to drive adoption, which honestly, as a creator, it's the biggest thing that I grapple with all the time, is how to get people using it. And I do think that a lot of the AI features are going to help get people using it and drive adoption for people who aren't analysts. So that they are very exciting. So at the Einstein Copilot, they did a really neat demo on. So that is both in it's in desktop as well as prep, and the data catalog, which is exciting. So in desktop, some of the functionality that they demoed is maybe you ask it, you have a data set that's all prepared. So maybe it's your member data set. And you can ask questions like, how many new members have we gotten by day? And it will create a viz for you kind of off the bat. And then you can say, how about in the last 20 days? And it will, create the filter all through natural language typing. And then you can even ask it to create calculations. So you can say, create a to show the average daily members by county, and it will kind of start creating that calculation for you that it, in that case, might do like a level of detail calculation that can get you started on some analysis that maybe is a little intimidating or you just want to speed through. And I think with some of those, obviously with the caveat that, you know, we will probably tune them some and it's a good starting place, not necessarily a good ending place, but it was a pretty convincing demo, looked cool. Also, I feel like I'm going to talk about this later too, but all of their AI functionality is really only available in Tableau Cloud, not server, which was kind of an interesting pivot from past conferences. They've always had parity between cloud and server, and they spoke to that a little bit by saying that they're basically the cloud, they only have to develop in one version, right? So they can create these new features so fast and they only have to support it using one version of Tableau. When they build something for server, they have to make it on server Linux and Windows, and they have to make all their past versions. And so if they want to compete on like these features with speed, cloud's going to be the way to go. So there was, while they would say they're not pushing anyone to cloud, they're kind of presenting some maybe that's where their cutting edge features are going to be. So that was an interesting message to hear. One of my favorite as a creator features was this idea, the second one here, of composable data sources. So we have always really talked about how important it is to have your data sources published. So everybody's working off the same maybe loan data source, or everybody's working off of the same share data source as your single source of truth for, and then maybe those data source fuel like 30, 40 dashboards. But there has always been friction when we want to join those data sources together. So maybe to take our charge off data source and combine it with our loan data source. In the past, we would kind of have to build that all in or make something custom. With composable data sources, you'll be able to join published data sources together through something other than blending, which obviously a lot of people know it has a lot of limitations. So that's really exciting. And any changes you make to, you know, the published data source will flow through everywhere that it's kind of joined and manipulated in the data pane. So that was really exciting to me. I think there's going to be a lot less hacking, a lot less custom SQL, a lot more kind of using these golden copies of the data sources when we're spanning across different subject areas, essentially. I was really excited by the design updates, so custom themes, so creating custom fonts, custom colors, all kind of by picking a theme and not having to go through and load and change all of your defaults all the time. That was exciting to me. And the Figma plugin also, Neil, I was excited by. It sounds like we'll have a lot more ability to make things, you know, look good in the design stages. This was one from one of the tip battles, which have also always been my favorites because it's so fun to watch and learn these little things. There's a free data dictionary tool. It's not affiliated with Tableau, but I have always tried to find something like this kind of natively in Tableau, but you can export all of your different data elements and calc logics by like submitting a workbook, and it will like spit out all of your calcs and what the logic behind them is. So creating data dictionary is really fast for your front end users. I thought that was like a super cool tool that I had never heard of before. So I also was looking through when we were talking about the tip stuff from my notes. There were a couple of a lot of them are available online, but you just might not know what to filter or what to search for. So it's fun to see. They had a lot of ones on keyboard shortcuts that I didn't know. So I after the conference, I looked up all the different keyboard shortcuts in Tableau and learned a lot. People were using Grammarly to spell check in Tableau, which I thought was smart because Tableau doesn't have a spell check and that can get us in trouble. So yeah, those are mine. I put up a slide on the next slide to talk about just a bunch of the different features on their roadmap in case it
Amy,
would be interesting to people.
Amy, quick
So
question. Before you get into this side, I just want to check. Justin just had a quick question on the composable data sources.
mhm.
Just if it was, he just missed if it was available only in desktop or also in web, was the quick question, which I think kind of relates to the slide.
Oh, they definitely demoed it or talked about it in desktop. Let's see.
Oh, it actually says here are all
Yeah,
free composable data sources. Oh, it's right on the checklist. Look at that.
perfect. Yeah.
Perfect transition.
This slide was one that they showed because they always show what's coming up on their roadmap, and then people are saying, "But when are we going to see that?" And so this was a slide that was fast in the keynote, but I took a picture of it because I'm always wondering later when that was coming. So composable data sources, for example, is coming in their release of 2025.1, and again, they have all these things about forward-looking statements. We cannot hold them to any of these, but that's in the plan. And then which products it's going to be across. So this is where you can see that cloud column in the middle has checks on almost everything. Server is more limited, and then desktop, well, is more limited usually because of the functionality itself. But server and cloud doesn't have complete parity here, and that was what I was speaking to earlier. Yeah, a few things, Tableau Pulse. So for people who haven't seen that demo, I would recommend checking it out, especially if you have Tableau online or have people who would be excited about AI. So creating metrics that you can track across data sources in one place. And then metric bootstrapping. So that's being able to take and create metrics, which is like a functionality of Tableau, but you can like get them from the dashboards themselves. I can talk about a few more prep enhancements. Are going to be mostly, they had talked about sentiment analysis in prep. So if you have data sets on surveys or something, you can start to pick through the sentiment of your survey responses, which was neat. The Viz extensions, Tableau currently has Viz extensions, so you can create things like Sankey diagrams and network charts. But they're going to make this even more accessible by putting access to them in the Marks card itself while you're developing in desktop, which is neat. If anybody is on Tableau Cloud or has server now, Tableau Cloud Manager allows you to have multiple Tableau Cloud sites that you manage in one spot, and they can share users and licenses and that kind of stuff, which was neat. I don't want to, if anybody sees anything on here that they are excited about or have questions about, feel free to call it out. I don't want to go through all of them because it will probably be too long and you should just watch the keynote. But those are some of the exciting ones to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciated having you come. This way we can kind of get a sense of it. And I want to see if anyone did have any questions about any of those features, whether it's for Amy or Carrie, if there were things that you saw on this list that, especially if you weren't able to attend, maybe you're less familiar with or want a bit more information on before we move on topic-wise and kind of see what you're most excited about.
Hey, this is Barry from St. Mary's Bank. Thank you,
Yeah.
Amy, for sharing. So my question is, what's the pricing? Cloud seems to be the coolest looking one now. Is it more expensive than Tableau Server?
It is more expensive than Tableau Server. You can see their pricing on their website. There's also things to consider. They have a lot of limits on capacity. Capacity limits is a big, I have a whole separate slide deck just on like the comparison of Tableau Cloud and Server. There's a lot of capacity limits on Cloud that might affect people with like a large deployment. And you also, when you're looking at pricing, need to consider that you won't be paying for the servers and maintenance of those servers and everything too. But it is more expensive.
Is that like a where architecture will go in terms of like with Tableau? I think it's server now, but what do you guys think about the cloud? Is that where you guys will be going in the future or no?
It wouldn't be a platform-wide change, I don't think, for us because of their capacity limits that would be really challenging for some of our customers to
Got it.
get through. Yeah.
We have a couple questions in chat too. I got if Kathleen was wondering about any elaboration on the Microsoft Teams integration, anything you saw there?
Just that it was coming. Did anybody else get any more info on them? They were just talking about their expanded partnership with Microsoft kind of in general, and I think Teams was the most exciting thing on that for
That was the
people.
vibe
But
that I got too. I didn't see anything else beyond in the keynote, but I don't know, especially Carrie, if like you were there, if you saw it outside of just the keynote more. But maybe not. No, that's okay. And then there was also Pete asking, is there pricing for Tableau Plus? On the pricing question side of things, Amy, if you saw anything on that.
yeah, you can find the pricing on the website. I don't have
Okay.
it up, but I think it's like tableau.com/pricing or something like that. Off the top of my head.
Rutger, are you trying to ask a question there too? I saw. Yeah. I also know this is one thing. I know, Carrie, you had something you wanted to call out a little bit about the write back extension and the people you got to talk to there. I don't know if you wanted to speak to that a little bit. I loved your quote about you decided it was the coolest tool you'd found in a while in terms of especially connecting to your CRM solution. So I was kind of curious if you wanted to talk more about your experience. I know you said you met with write back at the Tableau conference. So I'd love to give you a call out here if you want.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think my team has thrown me under the bus. They did not join today. So I am going to speak from not quite first person experience.
Yes,
They are
indeed.
the ones who met with the write back folks. But it was very, very cool because we had already started to work with write back. The company's called Expand It or Expand IT. I'm not sure how they pronounce their name. But they had started working with them before attending the conference, got to go to the conference, and this wasn't this year, it was the year before, and meet with them in person and talk about how things were going and our implementation process, because we quickly learned that we were going to get so much more if we went beyond just the free version. Of course, that's how it always is. And we're actually we installed servers and we put it on servers. But what write back is, it allows users to respond to your visualizations and your dashboards. So what we were using it for, the primary use was we've created what we've called a mini CRM, because right now we just can't afford a real one and someday we will. And this mini CRM is helping us justify how much we need a real CRM solution. But what my team has built, it started out with, we had lots of requests from our marketing team and those on the retail and contact center side for marketing lists. Give me a list of members who meet this criteria because we'd like to contact them and talk to them about this certain product or this certain service that we offer. And we had 5 or 6 high profile lists that we were using, and it was really difficult to manage. So what we've built is one place that pulls in member contact information and then lists out all of those current marketing campaigns and what those members are eligible for or seem to be good candidates for that marketing campaign. And what write back does, it allows us to put a location in that visualization for notes and callback dates and responses and close them out so they don't show up again. This member says, hey, can you stop calling me? I'm not interested. Okay, we mark them. And we also are able to bounce that against the National Do Not Call Registry, all of that. So, and we log all of that, all of the users log that in real time right in Tableau. So we can do reporting off of that write back, the data that comes in through the write back extension. So we're able to contact these members and then provide feedback to the management of the folks making the calls. How many calls have been made? How many people still need to be called? We have been able to set up subscriptions. So each user can log in and pull out a report, and they can see all of the members they need to contact that day. They have scheduled callbacks with, things like that. It's been revolutionary to be able to actually let our users interact and create data right in Tableau.
It is huge. First of all, as a marketer at heart, that was something when
Yeah.
you talked about the marketing list, I've been in those exact shoes of the marketing email lists. So
Yeah.
having that interactivity is huge because I feel like marketing can often also feel siloed from some of the data
Mhm.
sources and things because they're living in their own, the world of HubSpots and Facebook ads and Google ads, and they feel separated from the core and the LOSs of the world. So
Yeah.
creating
Yeah.
room to bridge the gap where the marketing analysts are not feeling siloed off in their own corner is a huge thing.
Right.
And on other teams like that kind of have their own analysts off in corners
Yeah.
to kind of create more interaction there.
Yeah, and we're able to kind of make data flow in and out of those areas now so that we can feed it into our email platform, marketing platform. So there's consistency across people making phone calls, people walking into a branch. You can pull up that marketing dashboard and you can see if that member happens to be on one of these lists and interact with them there. And whatever you respond with, the next day they might get an email about the conversation that you just had. So this is our mini CRM that we built.
It is huge. And it's sitting there because, CRMs are becoming that conversation that everyone, credit unions, after kind of core conversions and data solutions, are talking about the CRMs and saying CRMs are big expenses. Like, what do we do in the, like everyone talks about Member 360. So having a solution that's kind of the mini version of that is actually huge in terms of, getting you closer to the disconnect of those funnels between what you click on in marketing, the LOSs of the world, the origination systems and the cores. So having
right.
that
And like I said, it's helping us justify the need. We can show that it'll be used because this I hate to call it, it's not clunky at all, but I mean, it really isn't. But this amateur version that we built is being used so much. And it is just, I mean, the lift has been it's so much more than I expected. But the lift is so great that we're able to say, yes, if we had something that we can justify this cost a little bit more because we have the proof that's going to be used and what kind of lift we can get out of it.
Yeah, not bad. Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate that. I really wanted to call this out and take some time for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I also do want to ask not to put you too much on the spot. If anyone does have any questions as to your experience with that, and see if anyone has any questions about that experience that Carrie had with the write back extension before we move along from the conference side of things.
And I can also let you know that this is listed at the Tableau Exchange on the dashboard extensions. That's where I found it.
Oh, nice.
You can find more information about it there.
Awesome. Do you happen to have a link for that you can maybe post in the chat while we're doing
I can. I pulled it up because I thought you might ask me.
Thank you. Perfect. In the meantime, I'll have another question if nobody has. Oh, do we have? That's you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So actually, moving on here, just to the next question for everyone. What changes to Tableau are you most interested in, especially for those of you who maybe didn't attend and just heard from us a long list of really cool things that Tableau is doing? If there's anything that particularly stood out to you, or if you did attend anything still, knowing kind of what are the things you're most excited about. And if anyone wants to speak to what they respond with as well, that'd be really cool too, of something that you heard today that was really interesting, especially if you didn't attend. Let me know if the question is also letting you back in the Menti world. If you need the instructions again, I'll actually pull those back up in case anyone fell out of Menti. I see typing, so that's a good sign. Also, if anyone doesn't feel like typing, you can also feel free to share without. You don't have to respond on this, so that's all cool. I know one thing, it's a bit silly, but I'm a big fan of the custom themes. I know I got excited with Amy about that. It's a weird little thing, but I'm a big, theme and font person for out of marketing. So having those, we talked about branding so often in our world that having the ability to have custom themes without figuring out all the pulling in individual colors and color matching and all that stuff. So I got really excited about that as a marketer. Ooh. Geocoding came up. That was something I saw really cool. I'm a big fan of the GIS world. I actually came from archaeology as my undergrad major, so seeing more of that geolocation. Does anyone actually, since geocoding didn't come up today very much in discussion, does anyone have something about the geocoding, whoever responded that what they saw that was exciting about it? If it was Amy too, that'd be cool, but I don't know who said it.
I didn't say it, but I'm really excited about it. We do so much of that. I think I've kind of spoiled our decision makers around here with getting all kinds of different maps for things. And I have to use, and they want to be able to zoom into they want to sit on the mailbox of these people, And so I have to use a different tool to get my lat and longitude. And I would much rather not have to do that.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. I think they'd like to know what room in the house the member is in if they could have that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we currently we pull in data from the U.S. Census Bureau to try and get lat long from addresses, and it's messy and not super accurate. So if Tableau can offer some geocoding for us, it'll make our lives a lot easier.
I have a spreadsheet with macros in it if anybody wants it. I stole offline. It was free.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're here for link sharing and free stuff, so definitely.
Yeah, it's an Excel file. I've been using it for years and it works really, really well. And I can't even remember where I got it, so I couldn't even direct you back to that. But I would definitely be happy to share this spreadsheet with the macros.
That would be great, Carrie, if you can share it. Thank you.
Yeah. And all kinds of fun resources today. Also, if you want to post in the Tableau user group, either we can try and snag some links. Devin if you can actually maybe snag some of the links out of the chat. We can also post them to the user group, but you can also share on that interactive user group if you have access there.
And I just saw Justin's question. I don't actually know if it's going to cover PO boxes or not. I attended the Tableau conference in person 2 years ago, and that's actually where they started talking about geocoding. And to the best of my knowledge, it still hasn't fully rolled out. So I think that's where that future facing statements that they had to read before every single presentation, I think it falls under that one because they haven't come out with it, but they had demoed some of the stuff on how cool it would be, but who knows, maybe they had an intern typing in lat long just to make the demo.
Amy, did you see anything too?
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
I agree. It's
Fingers
been
crossed.
several years
Yeah.
since I've heard any talk about that.
I know the marketing side from the mailing list and stuff. I'm like, well, my fingers are crossed for PO boxes and householding abilities. So
Yeah. Everything I saw at the geo stuff at the conference was the spatial parameters that they're going to allow you to insert a spatial parameter type and buffers around poly shapes. What is it? So if you want to say, if you give it like a shape file and you have a shape and you want to say, I want to know anybody who lives within 3 miles of this shape, this area, like if it's a city or something, you can now get a buffer line around that more than just around a point, which is, I think, what their maps have traditionally done.
Awesome. Zach, do you want to speak to your comment? That's a really cool solution that you guys have come up with at First Mark. So I don't know if you wanted to speak to that at all a bit too. Everyone checks out the comment.
Sure, are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really exciting about Tableau offering geocoding services. Our workaround to get geocoding available in lat long, like I stated in the chat, was to build a custom R script that runs with OpCon each day, and it will grab all of our new members or any existing member who has had a change to their home address, run that through US Census, And this R package also runs it against some other publicly available geocoding services. So it starts with the US Census, and then it's kind of a cascading thing. If the US Census can't give back lat long coordinates, it'll go to the next publicly available geocoding service. So I think we run down the list of 3 or 4 of them before it gives up if it can't find, lat long coordinates at any one. But we've got, over 90% of all of our members geocoded, and it runs each day and works pretty well for us.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we implemented that. I think we went live with it in maybe March of this year. We were doing some testing. We started around December and developing it, and then went live in March, and it's worked great for the last 5 months for us. And I've got a lot of dashboards that get down to that what room of the house the member's in level of granularity.
And Deep Singh was just asking you, Zach, what API endpoints are you guys hitting? That's a question for you.
And that's all in the R package. So I am not a software developer. I'm
Neither.
closer to data analyst, data scientist. I don't know how to set up all the API stuff, but the R package handles it all for us, hitting all these publicly available geocoding services.
That's awesome.
We just have it connected to our data warehouse.
Love the workaround for that too, and see how Tableau can help you guys out to make your lives easier. Was there anything else anyone wanted to speak to? I saw the data dictionary add in, the themes. Definitely the composable data sources are coming up a few times. So that's really awesome that everyone was sharing in Amy's excitement there about those. Right. And so we got some cool things from the conference. So glad to hear from y'all. Next, I thought it'd be kind of fun to have a little bit of a debate, shifting topics from the actual conference itself to a debate that actually came up. It was a submitted topic that came to us in terms of the question of tiled versus floated containers. So for anyone unfamiliar, that Amy can probably describe it much better than me, but there's kind of the notion of the tiling is tiling, where you have the tiles that basically the big thing is not overlapping with each other, as I found out, and keeping things kind of all in order within your kind of squares system. And the floating gives you that free form. I think about it again as the marketer, where I was like doing Photoshop and overlapping things to make it into a larger than the whole kind of design or picture, where you have the freedom to have things overlap a bit or kind of interact with each other. Amy, did I get a little bit close to that in my very non-technical description of the difference between the two?
Yeah, definitely. I think of tile as like snapping everything to a grid. And floating is just, putting things wherever you want, no matter what.
So
Apparently
apparently there's quite a few heated Tableau forums that discuss this kind of question. One of our visitors had a really great quote that she came up with that I just wanted to read before we kind of got into the debate itself. I loved her metaphor for the skiers and snowboarders in the group. She thinks about it as, my friends always say, skiing is easier to learn but harder to master than snowboarding. Similarly, floating containers are easier to learn but harder to master because you need to rely on that grid or the layout pane to achieve that pixel perfect alignment. So loved the little quote. It was a fun little quote. So I'm definitely interested to hear from everyone on the next slide here. Which do you tend to use more often, your tiled containers or floating containers? There's also options for I use both pretty equally, or what are containers if you need a bit more description as to what we're talking about here. At least one person, so we clarify a bit more if you have any questions. I love this because you can actually kind of see who's winning out. Are we going to be tied for like a race? I'll give it a minute.
I have to say, I don't like containers at all, or
Your
I
opinion,
didn't.
yeah,
I
please do.
didn't until someone else on our team showed me that you can distribute contents evenly to just perfectly evenly space things in a container. And then I was like, all right, fine. I guess I'll start using them.
Yeah, you need to be like very orderly and not
Yes.
mix
My
match
entire
sizes.
life needs to be a beautiful spreadsheet and just excellently lined little boxes that
If
And
you
our
haven't,
finance team needed stuff like whenever I docked to finance, it was always like keep things very spaced out, almost like it's our spreadsheet. So I get you.
if you haven't really used containers much and you want to learn about it, I would highly recommend Tableau Tim's video. It's pretty short, but it gives you like all the information you need to do advanced tile and floating and anything you want to do. I can put the link in the
That'd be
chat
fun.
if
That'd
that's
be cool.
helpful for
Yeah, if you
people.
can grab the link. I was like, rather me trying to go find it for you. Well, it looks like people are pretty tight on the whole topic there. So I'd be curious to hear maybe a head person. First, I just want to check. There was one person who's kind of like, what are containers? So if there's any specific questions that that person might have as to they need a bit more information to understand what we're talking about here. Like I said, I at least brought Amy in to help me if I need some more descriptive language than what I can provide. And that Tableau Tim video is really cool. I'm a Tableau Tim fan, so. We don't have to call them out either, so we can just get into the debate if there weren't any kind of questions, or feel free to post them in the chat if you'd rather. Does somebody first from the tiles container team want to talk about their experience with tiles containers and why they are team tiled?
Are we getting jackets for our
I
team?
want to. Maybe that should be the swag.
Right, yeah.
We should protest for Tableau to make that swag.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, for me, tiled containers is because I'm lazy. I don't want to be working with, how many pixels do I need to shift something to the right or left to get it to line up. I like letting Tableau do the work for me. So I will say I also don't, I'm not the marketing. I don't have like a what's the word I'm looking for?
The
Design
designer,
background of any kind. So most of my worksheets and everything are very cut and dry and very straightforward. So the tiled containers just work really easily. It all snaps into place and I can publish and be on to the next thing.
For my own team, I remember tiled was much more common with the data analysts side of things, where I think it was we had one or two times the graphic designer would sneak in and kind of be like, we want to try some stuff. And I felt like she would sometimes pull up floating things more often because she had some sort of design element in mind that she wanted to add. And then with the data analysts, I was kind of off because I was also the marketer coming in on the visual side. They were much more like SQL was their thing versus Tableau even. So coming in and being like, okay, let's keep it tiled to keep it simple for you in terms of just keeping it laid out for you instead of having to worry about things starting to overlap and doing weird stuff. So maybe
Yeah, I think there's
the,
definitely a use case for floating. I'm definitely team tiled. Use case for floating when you want things to overlap for sure. Now that they have you can make things transparent and like some semi-transparent, I think that use case is going away a little bit, but I think when I am very much like Dana, I used to be fully team floating and have fully converted to team tiled because I think floating was okay when I wanted to control when I was making like a one and done thing, but then I like learned that there are no one and done things and you're always gonna need to iterate 1,000 times and people want you to add this and take this away. And tiles are just so much easier to respond to those changes than the floating stuff, redoing everything's pixel.
I'd just be curious too on the other side now to hear anyone who did say floating containers for kind of their primary that they like to use, if kind of what your use cases are on team floating that you like to see. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. That's stuff that you guys like to see. And where you're kind of using the floating instead. Neil, you can go ahead.
So I would highly suggest to use floating container because there is a dashboard that I worked on where I used 30 containers, where I granular the data and like use horizontal within the vertical, within the horizontal, within the vertical. So it's like back and forth. And at that time, the floating containers really help you to, narrowing the size and like change formatting and everything. So it gives you that opportunity to design on your own and like however you want it. So, and you don't have to like worry about like tile that once you click it just goes right into that into the dashboard. So you can right click and like you can float around wherever you want to place in.
That control element seems to be a very key factor for the team
Yes.
floating, so that makes sense. Maybe anyone else on team floating, like one more person maybe before we move on a little bit with the last few minutes. Anyone else has any other additional reasons that you really love your floating stuff? No, that's okay too. All right. No, we are at the last 5 minutes. So actually what I'll probably do, I do have Kathleen, I had your questions. I want to give some proper time. So I actually might do one of those questions today, and we can even hold on and we can actually continue that discussion in the chat as well. I really liked, so you asked what the credit union's go-to dashboards are. I'm actually post that as a discussion topic, because I think that'll be a really good discussion in the actual user group to talk about some more. But I'm also, especially because we're kind of talking about some dashboards that everyone is using there, I'm really interested in that word cloud that we're going to do for the second question. And I think that's a good way to kind of wrap up here of what are some of your basic dashboards incorporating that your departments or executives can't live without. Sounds like we have like the write back extension is a great example of something like that. So I really want to jump to that one. So actually, don't mind me while I skip ahead to this question and see what are some basic dashboards incorporating in your organization that departments or executives can't live without. I'm going to wrap up here on the question side. Whether it's floating or tiled too, you can maybe mention those.
Who's doing the call report with Tableau? Teach me your ways.
I've seen pieces of it before. The whole thing
Yeah,
is like a
that's
goal. Like,
awesome.
as architecture people, we have a goal on that. So does that person want to feel comfortable getting called out and being like, how are you doing your call report and the whole thing or is it
Hey,
just pieces or
this
what are you
is
doing?
very, so I've been working with someone from finance/accounting, and we work together for like days, basically gathering requirements, how call report define, overexposure, underexposure, which, and then like basically grouping them up based on the collateral, based on the investor code or the loan types, making sure those fall under all the categories that's provided by NCUA. And then we created like a page for her to like just copy and paste, and a page to download to Excel sheet so she can save that as exhibits, and then a page to show that let's, for example, there's a new loan that's not going to fall under this category. There will be a page for that, not categorized. When that page is filled, we'll have subscription that send email to her every day. Hey, do something about this. Either you work with me to categorize them, or this is going to be making you out of balance by the end of quarter. So we've done page 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The unfunded commitments, SBA loans. Those are some of the things that I could remember. But yeah, our work has helped them save like hours or days from our team every quarter end.
That's awesome. That's a dream. We're at the last minute or two, so I do want to check. Is there anything else anyone wants to say before we do the kind of wrap up final question, especially as to one of these items? I actually think this might even be a great source for discussions when we come back to do the next TUG. When we come back, this is going to be that's kind of why I wanted to end on this, because it gives us maybe a sense of some really cool things that other people are doing that I think we should talk about in a future TUG there for you. Any last thoughts before I wrap things up with a final internal question or check-in question? I just think these are really cool. Member growth is personal, close to my heart as a marketer. So. Awesome. And like I said, we can capture some of these answers and use it for future tugs and kind of get that discussion rolling on the internal group. My last question for you, like I said, we will, there was a slide on connectors. I think that'll be a good topic for the next meeting as well. We can do. What I want to say first is if you have any interest in sharing next time, please email me, email Jess. Our contact info is on the TUG. I want to hear some really cool topics like this. This gave us some really good ideas for future topics as well. Feel free, very easy to. And then just wanted to ask with final time, how can we improve these meetings going forward? If there's anything we can add, do differently, please let me know. Feel free. Let me even stop sharing so you can feel free to be as honest with your thoughts as you want to be. But I just wanted to say thank you all for having this first TUG with me as the leader here for you, or facilitator. I don't want to say leader at all, facilitator for this discussion. I think we got a lot of cool things out of here. And like I said, we'll get the recording to you. I want to try and get that presentation as well so you can see some of those takeaways from the Tableau conference. And I'll post as many of these links as we can into the TUG group so that you have that thread as well. Does anyone have any final thoughts before we let you out just on time for 1 o'clock? I want to say thank you.
Thank you all for sharing.
Thanks, all.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Bye now.
Thank you.
Also, any last folks who are still here, feel free to still submit in the Menti while I'm gone. But I'll be closing out the meeting in a second, but still feel free to respond there. Thanks so much, all.